Well, hello there, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to this Q&A video, which I am making in celebration of passing 10,000 subscribers. Quickly from me, thank you, all of you who have subscribed or who listen to my music or who share it with other people. It really does mean a lot to me, and writing all the comments as well and the beautiful stories. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's an amazing world that we live in, where a musician like me can have such a direct connection with so many people, all from just a single room and from a single computer. So I find it astonishing every single day. I really do. And I just really wanted to take this opportunity to thank you face to face. I have some very exciting things that are going to be coming up on my YouTube channel. They're not quite ready enough to fully announce yet, but when they are ready, I will announce them, and I hope that you will all like what is coming up. So I'm filming this at the very end of 2019. It's going to be released in early 2020. And it seems as if this is a bit of a bad time of year to ask for questions, because everyone seems to be very busy. I don't actually have that many questions to look at, but if you want to look ahead, I've got in the description a list of all of the questions I'll be answering, and they're all time-stamped. I'm also going to provide a list with all of the questions I've answered on previous Q&A videos. So if you want to find out a bit more about me from a few years ago, you're more than welcome to sort of peruse through the description and look there. But without further ado, I think we'll jump on to the first question. And the first question is from Invark, who says, "Congrats, Master." Well, thank you, Invark. You're very kind. What's your favorite video game character? Do you prefer Halloween or Christmas? And how are you? Well, Invark, I am very well, thank you. I've had a really good year. I'm looking forward to the next year. Things are great. I'm doing really well. So thank you for asking, and I hope you're doing really well as well. My favorite video game character. For those who know me, they know that I am a Final Fantasy fanboy. That was my thing when I was younger, and Final Fantasy VIII was the game that meant the most to me when growing up. And so I think my favorite character has to be the lead character, Squall, from Final Fantasy VIII. I liked how introspective he was, and how shy he was as well, and how he kind of grew as the game grew up. It sort of really turned into a hero of the story. And I've always loved that game. I've replayed it about 3 times. And I don't see myself ever not replaying it every 4 or 5 years or so for the rest of my life. So Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. Christmas or Halloween? Well, I've lived in 2 countries in my life. I've lived in Australia and in England, and both of those countries don't really celebrate Halloween. I've never ever had a trick-or-treater knock on the door. Sometimes people throw Halloween parties, but I think it's really just following the American example. So Christmas would have to be my favourite of the 2. Yeah, Christmas, a time to spend with family. Although I do like writing Halloween music, that is a lot of fun. The next question is from Inacio Santos, who says, "Were you in Portugal today?" No, I'm sorry, that wasn't me, whoever you saw. I know it wasn't me because I've never been to Portugal. I would love to go. I would love to do a lot of travelling around Europe. I'm currently in England, so I am much closer than I was before. I would like to do some more. There's some on the cards potentially in the future, but no, I'm afraid that wasn't me in Portugal today. The next question is from Zach, who says, "Hey, Mr. Robert." Hey, Mr. Zach. I am Zach. My question is, are you working by yourself on this channel, or do you have an assistant? Merry Christmas and enjoy your holiday. Thank you, Mr. Zach. No, I do everything myself on this channel. I write all the music. on my own, with a few exceptions. Sometimes I get some lyricists to write some lyrics for me, or I get some musicians to perform on some of the music, especially the songs I've been working on. But I still compose everything. But as for the running of the channel specifically, no, it's just me. I do all of the video editing and uploading and managing everything from that perspective. So yes, just me. Sareem Farouk asks, do you like metal or electronic music? What is your favorite mythical creature? Will you be making Greek mythology music and or more princess-themed music? Well, first of all, do I like electronic or metal music? I can do, but I don't think I would ever like music because it is metal or because it is electronic. I would like it because I like the melody and the harmonies and the construction of it. And the fact that it's electronic or metal is sort of immaterial to that. With that being said, metal music does have its own sort of tone to its own texture, which is very good, obviously, for when you want to be aggressive. But it's also very good for when you just want to be impassioned, I think, is the right word. So as a composer, it's a wonderful tool for accessing those deeper emotions, whether they be dark or light emotions, whether they be sinister, or joyful. The metal sound, which is the guitar sound really, can really highlight that emotion. And electronic music has its own type of energy, doesn't it? And so it can be very useful as a tool for writing a piece of music where you want to have that kind of why would you describe it? Almost sort of metronomic energy. But if someone came up to me and said, here's a song, it's a metal song, do you think you'll like it? My answer is I have no idea. I might love it, I might hate it. The fact that it's metal or the fact that it's any genre doesn't really count for that much for me. What is your favorite mythical creature? That's a good question. I had to have a really good think about this. I'm not much of a dragon person or a unicorn person. I think possibly centaurs I like, and I don't really know why. I just think I like the look of them. It's just a feeling. And probably the griffin as well. I like griffins, but I don't really have an in-depth analysis of why they are my favorite mythical creatures. There's just something about the way they look and their form and their shape that I find it attractive. I think it's actually just as shallow as that. For the moment, yes. Will you be making Greek mythology music and or more princess-themed music? Not specifically Greek mythology music. Not that I can see. I mean, the Greek myths permeate down the centuries, don't they? And they kind of instruct a lot of the stories that we like listening to and talking about. So in that way, Greek mythology will always be present, especially for someone from a European background. So there's no getting away from it from that angle, but I don't see myself directly writing music about specific myths. I mean, that might change in the future. Princess-themed music, definitely. I have some things in the works which involve the odd princess or two, so that's definitely around the corner. Alcade434S says, "Hi Mr. Robert." Hello Alcade. "Do you think you should sometimes make 16-bit versions of your songs? It would be a great idea. Greetings from Spain." So I presume from that you mean, you probably mean 8-bit. You mean that kind of computerized sound that you get from the old computer games. I've done that with a few of my compositions, especially the music from the Robert's Adventure series, which is a fun little computer game I made when I was younger for my friends. So I also, as the alternative version, had what I called the MIDI versions. And that was kind of cool. I certainly could. I do offer for anyone who buys music on my website, or for anyone on my Patreon page. They do sometimes ask me to make other alternative versions of songs, and so I do that for them. But I leave that as a reward for them. But generally speaking, I think it is a good idea. I only tend to make one alternative version per piece of music in general, so it would have to obviously be a fantastic idea for that song for me to want to do it initially. Yes. So Corey asks, hello Corey, I hope you're doing well. He asks, what in this universe do you find inspires you? So Corey is limiting me to only this universe. I can't give answers in other universes, which I guess is useful because I've only ever lived in one universe. I don't know if I can really give you a satisfactory answer for that, because I'm not a psychologist. There would be a psychologist's answer, wouldn't there? That maybe I'm, deep down trying to satisfy some longing for something, or I see beauty around me and I want to kind of be one with beauty. I don't know. It's a really difficult thing, I think. Well, at least I find this, to think about why I make music and what the purpose is for and what I'm trying to do with it. It's not a mathematical thing for me. It's not it's not I need to do this to do this to do this to do this. I just feel like I want to do it, and I just feel like I have to do it, and that's enough for me. I don't really care what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it, but it just feels right, and I'm not going to waste energy working out why I feel it. I'm just going to spend time actually doing it, and that's the most important thing to me. But thank you for your question all the same. New to Life asks, what inspires you to make the music that you do? I really like your music, and I'm really curious on the processes you go through when making a song. Well, thank you, New to Life. The first half of that question I've sort of answered with Corey before. Yes, the processes of making a song. It's very interesting. I think as someone who composes, you're very much in the zone when you're doing something like that. When you're making music and coming up with things, and certainly for me, I have to eliminate all distractions. Preferably have no one else in the house, not have any access to the internet, complete isolation, and not be thinking about anything else. Which probably makes it very difficult to really illustrate sort of what happens in that moment. Because if I was trying to document actually how I made something, I'd be thinking about making it, and then I wouldn't actually be able to make it anymore, if that makes sense. I'd be worried about the process. But no, that's not a good enough answer for you, is it? I think so. A lot of the time you hear something in your head, and you try and work out what it is. And to be fair, most of the time don't quite get there. But you'll start from that, you'll try and work out what it is, and you listen to it, and you might go, oh, that actually sounds okay anyway. It sounds not quite the same, but that's good. If I do this and do this, then I quite like that. And that's probably one place where the kind of composition process can come from. Another one can be from a complete accident. You might be playing something on the keyboard, on the piano, you play something by mistake, and you go, oh, that was interesting, I like that, and you have to hope that you've recorded what you were doing so you can backtrack and work out what it was. So that happens a lot as well. I think then after that, probably a lot of it is trying to refine it so that you like it. I think you have to trust yourself here. You have to trust that. I have to say to myself, well, I think I like this. I am a human. Hopefully that means that other humans will also like this. The people who have the same taste in music as you will like the same thing that you like. I think that's what you're sort of always hoping for. And So then that's a very creative process at that point, and that's often when I just sort of do the composition. Afterwards, I then sort of remove myself from being too involved in it and go back and clean a few things up, and make sure there's enough variation so that things don't get too boring, not too much repetition. That's when I probably will pick the instruments and sort of work those things out a bit more. But the fundamental essence of the song will have kind of come from that creative process. So that's sort of how it works for me. It's not the same for every composition, and it's certainly not the same for every composer. Sometimes there will be a sound that's the sound of an instrument that tells you what to do, or not tells you what to do, but makes you, that you react to, that you think, okay, I know what I want to do with that particular sound. But no, sometimes it's just something else. So yeah, where does it come from? Hard to say, but hopefully that gives you some insight into the process. In my 2,000 subscribers Q&A video, I did actually do some filming of the process of me putting together one of my compositions. So if you go back and find the 2,000 subscribers Q&A video, you can see a bit more explanation on the kind of the overall process for me. Yeah. Mr. Loro Gameplays 85 says, "Hi Robert, my question is, why do you look like a metal musician of the medieval era?" Well, I am a metal musician. That's true. I've played in metal bands, and I've released metal albums, and I've written metal songs, and I have the uniform of the long hair. So that would explain that. The medieval era, I am fascinated by the medieval era. I don't particularly dress in medieval clothes. That would be quite cool. So I don't think I look like I'm from the medieval era. And there's probably no such thing as a metal musician from the medieval era. So I don't quite know what it is you're seeing in me. But thanks, that humored me quite a lot, that question. But you go on to say, well, my real question is, what do you expect about the future of your career and your channel? Do you think that in the future you will continue on YouTube, or work in a film, or a record company? Ooh, what a good question that is. What do I see as the future for myself as a musician? Well, certainly at the moment in my life, music is a part-time venture. I probably spend 50% of my working life on music. That's all I can really afford to do. I spend the rest of my time teaching maths, and that's what pays the bills. As for what I see in the future of my music career, it's always hard to know. Well, music is broken down for me in a few different areas. So there's what you see of me on YouTube, but I also do other things musically. I play piano for choirs and for musicals and things, and that brings in a little bit of money, not very much, but that's very enjoyable. And I could throw all of my eggs in that basket and just try and make a living off that kind of work, and possibly playing music in restaurants, and playing piano in restaurants and that kind of thing. But no, I enjoy this composing thing. I enjoy songwriting. So the future that I want for myself is one where I'm composing and writing music mainly for for game soundtracks and musical theatre. Those are the areas that I would like for myself in the future. And possibly mixes between the two as well, if that's possible. So that's what I see that's what I'd like for myself, and that is a lot of what I aim for. Like with a lot of the compositions on my YouTube channel, they're very much from a perspective of being a computer game composer and writing the kind of music that you might find in a computer game. I'm not particularly interested in writing music for classical concerts, for example. And I'm not particularly interested in writing for film, actually, as it happens. although I have done some writing for short films, but that I don't find particularly interesting. I think I like, and I've mentioned this before, I like music that tells a story, and I think musical theatre is a very good vehicle for that. But also computer game music as well, where the music plays a bit more of a role in the storytelling. I think that's it for me. Film music, the music I feel takes a back seat. I think the storytelling is in the excellent acting and the dialogue and the lines, and that's really where the story comes from. But I think I like to work on music where the music itself is telling the story. Yeah, so that's what I see for myself in the future, and that's what I'm concentrating on, spending my time on. Will I continue to work on YouTube? I think so. I'm under no illusion that YouTube probably won't last forever. There will be a time when either it changes too much or my priorities change and I have to spend time on other things. But it's been good for me as a platform. A lot of people write really nice things about my music, and it's also, I think it's the number 2 search engine in the world after Google. So it's a good place to be, and it is very nice to think that it will potentially, those videos will potentially be there forever, well after I'm gone as well. So that would be quite nice. I don't see myself being picked up by a record company. I don't think I'd want to anyway, or even to be picked up by a film studio or something. I think if I was going to do something like that, I'd rather individual little jobs. But I have had offers come to me. Well, not offers, but I've had suggestions by friends of sort of working as a musician in a company, writing music for commercials and things. But no, that's that wouldn't work for me. That would be too much like work. This needs to be, I said in the answer to the previous question, this is something I feel like I have to do and I want to do, and I can't lose that feeling just by working on music kind of in an office. If I don't want to do it, I won't enjoy it. But very good question, thank you very much. So the next question is from Ryan Harcrow. Hello Ryan, thanks for your question. He says, "Hi, I am looking to be a composer, but I'm having trouble. I am having a hard time creating harmonies and such for the melody I have, and it's really bothering me. Could you explain how you compose such amazing pieces of music? I would just like tips and tricks or ways of thinking that you use to come up with melodies or harmonies. Thank you so much." Well, thank you, Ryan. What a brilliant question that is. So the middle part of your question was, how do I write such amazing music? Well, that's for you to decide if it's amazing or not for me. But I think I can probably showcase perhaps some things I might think of when coming up with harmonies. Certainly, coming up with melodies is probably a little bit different. So for those who aren't sure, what do I mean? The melody is almost the main singing voice, the main instrument that you hear, the thing that your ear has to go towards. And coming up with melodies, I think, is a more creative process than coming up with a harmony. I think so. So one tip I could give for coming up with a melody would be to actually sing it while you're coming up with it. Literally sing it with your mouth and with your voice, which is why it's nice to have no one else at home. Even if you're writing a flute melody or a violin melody, actually sing it along, and it just helps with sort of breathing and phrasing, and it can give you some really nice ideas. Something you can try as well is to actually have words in the melody. It might be a violin melody, but work out a melody with some words attached to it and think, how would I sing these words? How would it fit in? And that can be a really nice point just to get you going on getting something kind of emotional in the melody. Yes. As for harmonies, I think harmonies are probably a more technical thing. They're less of a they are less of an artistic thing. But what I'm going to try and do now is actually I'm going to just grab a melody and write some harmonies for it, and just show you perhaps what I might look to do. All right, well, I'm on my computer now, and I'm going to see if I can show you how this process might work if I was to come up with a harmony. I found a website called the Melisma Stochastic Melody Generator. Now, of course, I would never normally do this. I'd always write a melody on my own, but to illustrate the point, I'm going to get a program to write a melody for me. So we click on Generate Melody, and here we can download the MIDI file of the melody, and we can listen to the melody here. So I'm going to just try and quickly notate this. I've got Sibelius open here. This one sounds like it's in C minor to me, and 4/4. So it sounds like bum 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 ba-dum, which would be. How's the next bit go? Dum, 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 dum. Dum, dum, dum. I hear that bit again. Do, 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 do. Go back from the top. Dum, 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 dum. That's a bit hard to pick that up. Dum, dum, oops, dum, bum, dum, 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 dum. Is that? Oh, that's semiquavers. Dum. No, I'm getting this wrong. Let me try again. Yes, that's crotchet here. Dum. Then here we have dum. No, that's a quaver there. Bum, bum, dum, dum. Let's be natural again. Dum. Now let's hear the rest of that. I didn't quite hear all of that. Dum dum. Bum bum. Let's go with this. So I think this is the same as melody we've been given. Okay, so let's say, Ryan, for argument's sake, this is the melody that you've written, or that I've written. I've decided this is the melody that I really want, a nice little C minor melody that we have here. And of course, this is how I work. I tend to work in Sibelius to do all of my composing. So that there is the melody. I think the first thing that I would do if I was working with the melody is work out which chord I want to have playing underneath everything. So there are lots of different options here. So I'm going to write the chords up here. I wouldn't normally do this, but definitely I want to start with C minor here. I want to finish with C minor here. And I probably look to see dum bum 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 bum. So this note here, this G. Well, watch this. Say quite often chords will tend to change kind of every bar or every 2 beats or every beat. You don't want to change them absolutely every single note. So while this C is playing with a C minor, that C minor chord should still be hanging across here while the D is playing here. Perhaps I might change the chord here. Perhaps I might change it here. So I've got a few options. So here's something you could do. Look at the G there and ask yourself which chords could G be in. So one option would be to leave it as a C minor chord in that spot. So I'm going to just put the chords underneath here for now. Again, I wouldn't normally do it this way. So there's a C minor chord, there's another C minor chord. So that could work, right? So that's a possibility. I think if I was going to do that, that's a little bit boring to use the same chord. So I'd want to maybe change something up in the middle. So I think if that's what I was going to do, I would I'd probably do this. I'd probably make this an F minor chord in the middle here. So it'd be to give me a little bit of change so I don't have C minor all the way through. So that's one option. Another option could be to pick another chord that has a G in it. One option there could be just, in fact, to use G as a chord, or maybe some kind of G7 or something like that. So what would that sound like? So this would be like... So that's kind of nice. That has a bit of like a Slavic feel to it, almost a bit of a Eastern European feel to it. So we could definitely go with that. What other chords could we use here? Another possibility would be E flat. E flat as a chord has G in it as well. So perhaps that could be a chord that we go to next. What would that sound like? So that's kind of nice. That's a bit more of like a movie feel, possibly a power metal feel. I think, yeah, that does sound a bit strange. I think I'd want to have something going in between. So maybe if, let's see, maybe some kind of, this is often a good idea, have like a boom, boom, boom for the chords underneath. That probably will work, because often with a chord like this, the fifth or sixth note doesn't really matter, and so that G won't clash too much. How does that sound? Yeah, okay, that's quite nice. So, bum 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 bum. So I like this chord. So this is actually a B flat chord. You might call it a B flat 6 chord if you want. I'll just leave it as B flat for now. So I'm going to go with that. And now I have bum 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 bum. So I think this would be the interesting chord here. Do I go back to the E flat or do I go back to the C minor? I think that's the choice I have to make here. Bum 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 would be going back to C minor, but bum 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 boom boom would be going to E flat. I think I quite like that one actually. So I'm going to put a B flat chord there and another E flat chord here. So this is what I've got now. Cool. Okay, so that almost sounds like the end of a phrase, and then bang, we have this new note that comes in. So that's going to be sort of something very new. It's an interesting phrase there. That's sort of really frolicking around kind of the G major chord that we see there. So what if I maybe F minor there, and then some kind of G major chord up here as well, perhaps. No, that didn't work. I think maybe back down to E flat there. That's not going to work either, is it? Let's listen. No. Okay, I think back down to C minor here. Boom. And then this B can be attached with a G chord. Oops. Put it down there for now. Of course, I wouldn't normally do this, but this is just trying to illustrate what I'd be kind of thinking about when it comes to placing the chords in place. I do like F minor there, F minor. And at the moment we're trying a C minor here and then a G chord here. Let's tie that around so we have a bit of symmetry there. Boom, boom, boom. Then boom, boom. Dun. So that looks quite, I think that would go quite nice with an A flat chord. So let's get these chords in here. So that we're looking at a G there, a C minor, and this will be an A flat chord. Again, I don't really mind if it's an F or an E flat on the top. They both kind of sound okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so I think I'm going to do a medieval thing here. I think I'm going to go to a G minor, and then a B flat for C minor at the end. Yum boom. So this would be G minor, and then B flat for C minor. Don't know if I completely like that. Yeah, this bit at the end, I still wouldn't be completely happy with that. What if I try a B flat first and then a G minor? That's okay. All right, so what I have now is the melody now has a chord progression to go along with the melody. And I would suggest, well, first of all, this is a very basic chord progression. You could see along the way I had lots of different options for what I wanted to do, especially with this third chord here to match with this, because there were really three options. And you can see all of these chords here, if you're not that familiar with chords. Most chords you can write, at least how I've done them here, have three notes in them. And almost every single time, there'll be a common note. Not on that occasion. But you could hear them all there, they're common notes. So if you're struggling to find out what kind of chord you could place underneath a note in the melody, cycle through all of the chords that have that note of the melody in the chord. Now again, it's not a strict rule. You could see there are two occasions here where I didn't have it. It doesn't happen here. So that was kind of nice, and this. And you can also do things called suspensions, which are other chords where rather than having three notes in a row like this, you might have something like that or something like that. You can also experiment with having different bass notes. So where would be the best place for that? Possibly this one here. Yeah, possibly this one. So currently this is an A flat chord, but if I put the A flat on the top, that becomes an A flat on C chord, where you have a C on the bass line, and that can sound quite nice. So yeah, there are all sorts of options for different things that you want to pick. Anyway, what you're interested in really is the harmony. So let me put a couple of voices in here. So this can be the melody, and this can be the harmony. So let me grab the melody back here again. Just listen to that again. And so specifically you're asking, how can we write a harmony? Now harmony can mean different things. If you were an organist, actually this is the harmony. Choosing the chords is the harmony. Sometimes you'll hear organists who play at Christmas carols say, which kind of harmony are we doing this carol in? And even though the Christmas carol has the same melody, the choice of the chords will be the harmony. But perhaps what you mean is more sort of in a pop song or having another instrument playing along. What are they going to play along at the same time? So there are different types of harmony. Probably the easiest type is where you insist that whenever the melody is playing a note, the harmony has to be playing a note as well. So, of course, if we copy this across, they're both playing the same thing. This is called in unison. So that's not particularly interesting. What we want is for the harmony to be playing different notes in the melody. So this is a harmony that will not sound good. Okay, so it sounds a little bit strange and ethereal. Could work as an effect. But often a good place to start is this. Copy your melody into the harmony position and then choose what you want for the notes to be here. And one basic starting point would be pick your notes to also be from the chord. So these are on a C minor chord here. So this would probably be an E flat. That'd be a good start. You could hear them there. That's a good start. Now, looking ahead, I've got this beautiful bum 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 in the melody. I'd probably like to keep that kind of shape in the harmony. So I think I'd want these to be up here on the B flat dun dun dun, because both of these chords have a B flat in them. So the question is then I have to jump. I have to pick a note here. And I could either just go up by one, which could work. Potentially I could go here. I'd have to listen to both of those. No, I didn't like that. I'll try an F instead. Okay, that was kind of nice. I don't think I like any more the dun dun dun. I don't think I like it in parallel, so I want to pick a new note here. So instead I'm going to send this up to an E flat, another note from this chord. So I now have... Okay, that's kind of fun. So if the harmony's up here, I'll probably keep it up there. And this is dun 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 dun. And so if I'm going to keep that kind of shape, I think probably I should move to a D here, which is in the chord. Dun. And what can I do here? Probably I want to hit the B flat. So I'm always trying to aim for a different note. So dun 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 and dun. Probably dun 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 dun. Would sound quite nice. Dun 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 dun. Maybe this. So these are now in parallel thirds. Let's listen to all of that. Yeah, that sounds quite nice. Very regal, doesn't it? Dun. Then we got yeah, dun, 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 dun. So this is interesting. Dun, 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 dun. We have the Arabian third there, and this is all over a G chord as I've set it up. So I think what do I want to do? We should probably stick with a parallel third over this thing to kind of keep it all in the chord because it's all quite quick moving. So we've got two options there. We could do... Would be B flat though. Yeah, na, 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 na. That would sound like this. So that could work. Another option could be for the harmony to be a third under the melody. Now, I don't like that because it's fine for these. Yeah, dun, dun, dun. But then this note... Oh, maybe it's fine. Let me listen. I think I prefer the first two of those options. This is often what you do, right? You play around, you listen to them, you decide which one's going to be the best. So I think I like that, the parallel thirds here. Now how do I get there? I've got an A flat here. So I want to start with a D, so maybe I should get myself up high here. So I might start this one at a C, from the C chord. This one could be C as well. Let's listen to that so far. No, something's gone wrong here. This is meant to be a C minor chord. So that's not going to work. I think this might sound good. So that will be an E flat now from the C minor chord. And here we have... So let's just try a fairly simple parallel harmony here. So I'm going for a third above at the moment. I might even go even higher. So that should work well. Yeah, done. Now this... Actually, these are different now, aren't they? I changed it to a B flat and a G minor. Now this is an F here, which is fine. Now this F as well is acceptable. That kind of makes that a G minor 7, but that's fine. Adding a seventh, especially for this kind of chord leading into a tonic, seems to not ever be a problem. Okay, let's listen to all of that. So that's something. I think if I was writing music here, I'm still a little bit... I think this is still a little bit clumsy at the very end, but the rest is fairly pleasant. I think I want to do something a bit different here, slightly more interesting. But anyway, that's perhaps an insight into perhaps what I might be looking for a harmony. Of course, there are lots of other things you can do. This is a very simple... harmony. It's sort of a block chord harmony. I'd be looking, for example, well, these are the same note. I'd actually tie them across to make them the same thing. And also things like this. Let's see. This E flat here, you can make it slightly more interesting. At the moment, it's just a basic E flat chord. If I put a little suspension in there, that could be quite sweet. So let me show you what I mean by that. In the chord, let's change this E to an F, so it's like this sound. Da, da, underneath. And I could do the same thing up here. So what would that sound like? So maybe that works. It probably doesn't quite work in that situation, but looking for little suspensions like that can be a nice idea. So yes, hopefully you found that interesting. Do let me know if that was worthwhile to see, and whether you think that's going to help you out. And so the next question is from Kiete Vanderlaan, who says, do you have classical training? If so, how does it influence your songs, especially the ones that aren't necessarily classical music? Do you think a lot about things like voice leading and counterpoint in your songs before you start to compose? Brats. Well, I'll call you Brats. Brats. Or Braz. I guess I am classically trained in a sense. My story is I took piano lessons when I was a boy, and that involved doing some music theory alongside it. And it was in that music theory that you learn about 4-part harmony in particular, and the rules when it comes to harmonizing a melody using 4 parts. And I think that was actually a very, very useful thing for me to learn about. Now, it's a very old technique, and you don't hear much 4-part harmony inside modern day music, really. But it is interesting when you do try and harmonize with 4 things. You sort of find yourself wanting to use those old-fashioned rules, because there's something very comfortable and familiar about them, and people always like it. There almost seems to be a reason why the rules are there, because they're there because things sound better when the rules are adhered to than when they're not adhered to. So I do like using that a lot. I loved classical music when I was younger. I loved playing it on my piano exams. I loved getting hold of the sheet music of my favourite pieces of music and trying to work out how different things were done, and sort of working out what the chords were underneath and how things were being placed together. But I then later in my school years got exposed to musical theatre, which is very different. And that's where you had to learn playing off chord charts, which means you don't actually have the notes as such. You just hold the chord and the melody, sort of what I was showing before, and off you go, play something along with it. And so I've sort of, we're all a product of all of our experiences from the past, but those have kind of come together, I suppose. So I can communicate with both of those worlds. Do I think about things like voice leading and counterpoint? Not typically, not before I start doing something. I'd say when I'm trying to write in my sort of medieval Celtic style, especially medieval style, I will try and imitate the kind of counterpoint rules and especially with little fugues and things and sequences. I'll try and imitate that as much as possible, and try and stick to the rules. I like to throw them in sometimes in other areas, but it's not something I think about too much. I do think that having musical theory training is a huge advantage, and it's actually not that difficult to do. It does scare a lot of people. Reading sheet music can scare a lot of people, but it's much easier than reading words, I would say. There are many fewer combinations, and when you're learning a language, you have to remember what all of the different words mean and how they're all put together. That's difficult. When it comes to music, there are only a certain number of combinations that are there, and if you just do a bit of practice with it, then you get better at it. So I guess in a way it always informs me for what I'm trying to do in my classical training, but I don't rely on it. I don't apply a formula to it. It's just something that was kind of there in the background. Yes. Well, those are all of the questions that I've had come in, so thank you to everyone there. I'm going to move on now to the lyric competition, and I'm now going to cut to Future Me.
Oh, hello. This is Future Me. The winner for the lyric competition is Elizabeth Delaney, who wrote a delightful duet for this piece of artwork by Sandara. So watch out in the future for when this song comes out.
So thank you again, everyone, for watching. Hopefully you found this really interesting. I have promised that I would give my favourite questions author a prize. So Mr. Laura Gameplays 85, your question about the future of my music was my favourite question. So get in touch with me and I will send you your prizes. For everyone else, thank you again so much. Thank you for all of your support. I really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot. If you didn't get a chance to ask me a question, feel free to ask further questions in the comments down below, or to look at questions I've been asked in previous Q&As. If you want me to answer another question on video, I'm afraid you're going to have to wait till next time, which will probably be 20,000 subscribers. Thank you again so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you around. Bye for now.